There are a lot of cheaters and players in the Philippines, and it's shameful. But the actions of a certain segment of the Filipino male population just might be giving us Western men an opening to find the beautiful, loyal, and caring woman of our dreams. Stick around and I'll explain in today's episode of Escape to the Philippines. Class is in session. I'm probably going to ruffle some feathers here, but so be it. I have observed many good, upstanding Filipino men, and just as many macho players. My former girlfriend was widowed 20-some years ago when her husband died in an early morning traffic accident on the way home from his mistress's house. Many other married women I know are living as single parents because their husband left them for a mistress and started an entirely new family. This seems to be a catch-22 in this supposedly conservative Southeast Asian country. With that mindset and the influence of the Catholic Church, the Philippines is the only country in the world other than the Vatican that has no divorce. Yet, all over the Philippines, there are single-parent households, or households with the single mother and or aunts or siblings as the caretakers of the child. No father figure in sight. The Institute for War and Peace Reporting website revealed that despite the rollout of a sweeping 2022 law that gives lone parents more benefits and legal protections, in this very conservative Catholic country, the stigma that their situation is shameful is extremely hard to overcome. But in my own observations, lone parents, especially young single mothers, drastically need this support and protection. Here is a personal experience that I had found both sad and amusing. Between relationships here, I signed up on an online dating site. I contacted a number of women, and a number of women contacted me, but one stood out, both in a good and a bad way. This woman was 23 years old, strikingly beautiful, and extremely sexy. If there is such a thing as a Filipina Barbie, she probably fits the mold. She contacted me repeatedly, telling me how she thought we would have a lot in common. I told her I was 68 years old. That's a 45-year age difference. What could we possibly have in common? She insisted that she wanted to find an older, settled man because she was finished with those young, unfaithful Filipino men. She has a point. I've seen them in action. And in her case, one or two of those Filipino men left her alone, never married, and with sons ages 4 and 1 by the time she was barely out of her teens. On top of that, she had a number of large tattoos, and I'm just not into that. So I call her my poster child for bad decisions. But in all fairness, I must sympathize with her plight and her desperation to consider a relationship with this bald, old, fat man. Even though she probably saw in me dollar signs where few actually existed. According to the Institute for World War and Peace Reporting, the Philippines government and non-governmental organizations' data reveal that 95% of the total 15 million single parents in the country are women, most of whom get little or no support from the absent parent. Now, having worked for 10 years in the United States in the field of child support enforcement, I can honestly say that the mechanisms to hold absent parents accountable for supporting their children simply do not exist in the Philippines to any significant level. That's despite some moves in that direction. After all, this is a poor country, and significant social welfare programs are only now beginning to emerge. In researching for this episode, I ran across a video on a YouTube channel called Conservative Filipina. Her video concentrated on why there is a rising trend of Filipinas marrying foreigners and her observations seem to fit closely with mine. She said Western men seem to have a direct plan on what they want to do next, and Filipinas find that refreshing. It speaks to their desire for security and certainty in their lives. She contends that Filipino men generally fit in either of two extremes. The good Filipino man who is loyal to his woman, is a good husband and father, and is responsible and perseveres in providing for his family. He's a treasure who doesn't stay on the market for long, she said. So that leaves the rest of the Filipinas with a collection of toxic Filipino men, she says, who are, quote, always available, always ready to mingle, and there are a lot of them, end quote. But both the good and bad Filipino men tend to be charismatic and passionate. Those might be good traits, but the toxic Filipino man can easily sweep a young Filipina off her feet, then leave her in a much worse situation than he found her. And, according to the Philippine Statistics Authority, 500 Filipinas between the ages of 10 and 19 give birth every day in the Philippines. Let me say that again. 500 Filipinas between the ages of only 10 and 19 give birth every day in the Philippines. Former President Rodrigo Duterte declared back in 2021 that preventing teenage pregnancies was a national priority. But things don't get much better once a Filipina has strolled down the aisle in her wedding whites. The Manila Standard published a 2009 report from the National Commission on the Role of Women that marital infidelity is one of the major causes of stress among couples, with about 36% of men and 2% of women having extramarital affairs. And in this country, where divorce does not exist and lengthy and expensive annulments are about the only option, marriage annulment cases rose 40% in the past decade, with at least 22 cases filed daily. And that's only for the fortunate few who have the resources to spend thousands of dollars in up to 4 or 5 years in the court system to accomplish this feat. The rest just go their separate ways and create their separate new families. Or they just stay at home and cheat unabashedly. That phenomenon is fueled in part by the lack of adequate jobs in this poor country. It creates a situation in which one spouse spends up to 3 years working abroad with seldom a break to return home. Hey, I get it. People have needs. That's a long time to be apart. So what if the kids see a new Tito or Tita, uncle or aunt running around the house? Yes, the children see it, and they become numb to the cheating going on right under their roof. Then it becomes a vicious cycle that likely will continue into the next generation. But lucky for us, the smart Filipinas are fed up with this cheating game. If you are a loyal, responsible man looking for love, the Philippines just might be the best hunting land you will ever find. Now, if you have stories about the cheaters and players in the Philippines, I would love to see you add them in the comments section. Just no identities, please. And I'll be back in a few days with another lesson on life in the Philippines. Class is dismissed. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, comment, and above all, subscribe. Thank you.